This is Cruise Radio.
I cruise a lot, and I always sail with travel insurance. You should too. Get a free quote today at tripinsurance.com.
Here we go.
Broadcasting from the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. This is Cruise Radio.
Last month, Tom took a 3-night cruise aboard Celebrity Reflection. It went out of Port Everglades. It went down to Key West and Nassau and back to Florida. He joins us on the line to talk all about it. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Doug. How are you?
Good. Excited to hear about this 3-night sailing, and we'll get some pre-cruise thoughts before we get to the ship, which brings the question, you're up in Pennsylvania. What made you want to come to Florida just for a 3-night cruise, and why Celebrity Reflection?
Yeah, well, I'm excited to talk to you about it, Doug. And this one was very last minute. I travel every year down to Florida about this time of year to pick up my mom, who's a snowbird, and bring her back to Pennsylvania for the summer. So I knew I was going down that way, and I thought, let me just take a quick look and see if there's any quick cruises I can grab while I'm flying down. And I saw this really great deal on Celebrity Reflection. I've never been on Celebrity before, so I thought, hey, what a nice way to try them out on a quick 3-dayer. It's my first solo cruise too, actually. So that was another upside of taking a short cruise. What if I don't like it? I can get out there in 3 days. So yeah, that was the impetus of going, and really great price on it. And I thought, yeah, let's go for it.
Did you have any hesitation going on your first solo cruise?
Not really. I mean, I've cruised quite a bit, and so I know I'm a fairly social person, and there's usually tons to do on a ship. So even there's going to be enough to keep me busy without feeling lonely if I didn't talk to anybody at all. But I'm also a person who talks to everybody, so I was happy to just at the bars, at the pool, anywhere on the hot tub, anywhere I go, I'd be like, hey, how you guys doing? And people on the ship were super friendly, so they're always willing to talk. I've always found that on ships. So no real hesitation.
Any pre-cruise time in Port Everglades before you sailed?
I got there the night before, so flew in that evening and caught the shuttle over to the hotel. I just had a cheap hotel that I was staying at. I pretty much picked it because I knew they had a shuttle that would pick me up at the airport. Kind of funny because when I got on the shuttle, I see a sign hanging that says, make sure you book your cruise port shuttle first thing when you check in. And I was like, you guys have a cruise port? Because I hadn't thought about the transportation. I figured I would just take an Uber or a Lyft. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, what's it cost? It's free. I'm like, even better. Yeah. Turns out that I had my transportation hooked up just from staying at that hotel. So I got into the hotel, went to bed. Next morning I got up. I took a run, for about an hour and a half run around a little green belt that they have down that way. And that was it. Came back to the hotel, showered, jumped on the shuttle, and I was over to the port.
Do you mind giving that hotel name with the free shuttle?
It was a Red Carpet Inn.
Okay. I've actually stayed there many times. Yeah, right there just past the interstate. Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, I didn't realize I had a free shuttle. That's good to know if I ever am down that way again. Let's talk about the embarkation here. So you make your way to the port. How was embarkation, and how long did it take you from the curb to the ship?
So I had a arrival time set for 11:30, but the shuttle that turns out was free from the hotel was scheduled to get me over there about 10 a.m. or so. So I was like, well, we'll see what happens. But got in, no problem, quick over there, no traffic really. Got off, walked right in. It was easy breezy, run right through, maybe about 5 minutes or so to get through the security and the check-in. And I was over to a holding area. They have, I got to really appreciate the Celebrity, even the port. They keep it really nice. Very large, comfortable couches that they have arrayed in that holding area. They kind of group you together. So I was in, I think, the third set of couches, the third group. They hadn't started letting anybody on the ship just yet. So even though it only took about 5-10 minutes for me to get to that holding area, it was still about 10:45. So another half hour or so till they started boarding until I got on the ship. But turns out that was perfect amount of time for me to sit there, go through the app and check out the safety videos and get that taken care of. And they did a little verbal briefing to us in the waiting area. They had some free water there if you needed it. But yeah, still, even though I was early, I was able to get on board without any problems.
Yeah, they built Terminal 25, I believe, back in 2018 when Celebrity Edge came out. Was it that terminal where you go up the escalators when you go in, or was it a different terminal?
I would believe that would be the one. It was my first time at Port Everglades,
Okay.
so I'm not 100% sure, but yes, there were escalators right up when you came in the entry. So probably.
Yeah, it's a very efficient terminal there. So you make your way on board Celebrity Reflection. What were your first impressions?
The entry onto it is on the outer walkway of the ship on, I think, deck 5. And as soon as you get to the end of that gangway, they have signs and they're pushing you either direction to get to your muster station to do the check-in. My first impression is go to your muster station, which I didn't do. I wanted to go to my room. I carried my one suitcase on board, so I wanted to go up to the room, and I knew they would let you drop your bags first thing, even if the rooms aren't quite ready yet. So found my room, and then I had a mission. I wanted to find the restaurant reservations table because I had a package. I wanted to get some reservations taken care of. So I found my way to my muster station slowly, but I will say that even as I was kind of walking with a mission, I was really impressed with some of the unique features of this ship. It has some really cool spaces on the some of the mid decks. It has these little spaces around the elevator. One's like a game room. One's like a quiet space. One has these really neat, like bird nest type seats. So I was just checking some of those things out. Went up to the lawn up on the top decks there to see the grass at sea and just check out some of the things. And if anything, what really was kind of neat was the artistic features of the interior of this ship really do stand out. I mean, all ships have artwork, but I would call it crazy interesting, where they're eclectic maybe, where you just find these really neat little art pieces that maybe you just don't see on other ships, and even in places you don't necessarily look for it, but there's small touches. Like people sometimes will talk about the bathrooms have hand towels, which is a nice little feature. But have you heard about the riddles that they put above the urinals? You're at a urinal, they have a riddle, a different riddle at every urinal. You sit down to eat at the restaurants and they have quotes at the top of the page, and I just like little touches like that are just really neat. I don't know if that's just Celebrity Reflection thing or a celebrity thing, but this ship in particular impressed me with some of the artistic features.
Yeah, when the Solstice class first came out, gosh, we're talking about almost 20 years ago, like 2008, I believe, 2009. That fell into like maybe number 4 of the class. And for the first time, it felt like the atrium, the elevator banks, and just kind of that whole area in general felt more like a contemporary hotel lobby instead of your typical giant cruise ship,
Yeah, it does. It has a bit of a cozy feel to it, a stepped up feel and look to it. It really is a nice ship. And like I said, it's a fairly old ship, but you wouldn't really know it. It has some class to it.
So you make your way to your stateroom. You mentioned you drop the bags off, but once your stateroom is ready and you're able to go in there and kind of get settled, what did you think of the stateroom for the 3 nights? What kind did you book? And yeah, just break that down for us.
Yeah, this is the first time since I think I was 12 years old that I had an interior stateroom, but I figured, it's just me. So how much space do I need? How much time am I going to spend in this room? And I was kind of impressed with the amount of space. No cruise cabin is huge, but I felt like it did have a few extra square feet than what I'm used to. The bathroom even seemed to have a little extra square footage in it than what I've experienced recently. I really liked some of the storage spaces in this room. It had cabinets above the bed, which I thought were really nice, extra space to put some items. Again, some nice touches, right? The room has 2 robes in the closet. Even had an umbrella in the closet in case, I suppose, we hit some bad weather. So that was nice. You had the mints on the pillow every night, the turn down service in the evening. I even found a free canvas tote bag in one of my drawers. I'm like, well, that's very nice. And I really enjoyed that. Some of the older, because it's an older ship, there's no USB plugs in there. And there's really just the one set of plugs on the desk area. But I knew that going in, so I brought my European adapter and I brought my plug extenders and I brought my 10-foot charging cord for my phone, and that was not really a problem. I would say the one upside of an older technology ship is that there's no need to put your key card in that slot by the door to get the power to come on. So I do appreciate that. If I had maybe 2 complaints, one would be, and it might be just where my room was located, but there was a rattling noise in the bathroom, which I assume was from the engine, causing a little bit of a shake, and the glass doors on the shower would just rattle a little bit. But again, I didn't notice it unless I was in the bathroom, so not a huge problem. maybe if you're a light sleeper, that might bug you. And then for some reason, there's no clothesline in the shower, which I'm kind of used to hanging my swimsuit in there. So I was like, oh wow, they don't have that old school clothesline in there, but yeah, whatever.
What deck was your stateroom on?
I was on deck 10, but I was in a room that started with 11, so it messed me up every time. But it was deck 10 with a room starting with 11.
Okay, so you aren't too far from the Ocean View Cafe, the buffet on Celebrity Reflection. What did you think of the food, and did it ever feel too crowded?
So I was really surprised. I'm used to the linear setups of the buffets on some of the larger ships, and this is a decent sized ship, but it has that more island style setup, and it surprised me in how small the footprint of the food service area was, but in a good way. You didn't have to walk like forever to check out like what do they have down there? What's in the next bay? It was all in a very self-contained area, but it flowed very well. I never felt like it was I had to elbow people out of the way to get to the different entrees. I was very impressed with the selection that they seem to have a nice rotation of foods every day, every meal. So good quality food. Everything I had was really tasty. I thought it was a nice touch too that there was always something special being offered. So whether that be, I think the first day they had a donut display, all kinds of different donuts. One meal they had a chocolate fountain going. Another meal they had a cocktail shrimp station. On Mother's Day, because this cruise did happen over Mother's Day, they had a special Mother's Day cakes display and all kinds of little cakes to try for Mother's Day. So the little touches like that, I really was impressed with. And as far as and also the hand dipped ice cream, can't forget that they had rotating flavors of the hand dipped ice cream available for you there. As far as crowding, I there was times at peak where there was always seats available, but as a solo, and maybe it's just a bit of a solo problem, finding a table where I don't want to take a table for six, it's just me. I want a table for two, but all the tables for two are typically along the windows, and all the window seats are almost always taken. So I felt like I was struggling sometimes to find a seat for myself. The other thing I had to get used to was, okay, I'm about to go for a second plate. How do I make sure they don't clear up my silverware and my drink while I walk away for 2 minutes? Right. And only one time did somebody end up sitting in my seat while I went to get a second plate. But other than that, I honestly thought the buffet was very good. The flow of it was very good. The only thing, there was only the one bar in there for drinks. I don't know that I noticed any drink waiters moving around at any time when I was in there. Some of the other boats I've been on, they have those little mini pop-up stations where you can get a quick drink or a soda or something like that are out in the seating areas. But this just seemed to have the one main bar in the buffet. So maybe that's one thing that was at peak times could be a little bit of an annoyance trying to get a drink standing in line.
One thing I remember about this class of ship is how beautiful the main dining room is. What time dining did you have, and how was your experience in there? I mean, I know it was only 3 nights, so did you eat in there, or did you do like specialties?
I did both, which is going to make me sound a little bit like a glutton, but I wanted to try it out. I want to at least say I experienced as much as I could on this ship. So I did have anytime dining, which worked out pretty well because I was able to just work that around having scheduled some specialty dinings. So yeah, anytime dining. I found that the service in the main dining room was very quick. They were very, very good to me. Very, very tasty food. I had no complaints. Good selection every day. It seemed to rotate. So you had something new on there every day to look at, give a try. I actually, again, the small touches, right? The things that set them apart. That their bread comes out and it has a set of 3 dips that comes with it. And every day the dips were different, so you can always look forward to something special every day when you go in there. But sometimes I may have just had an entree, or maybe I just had just a soup or a salad and a dessert. But I wanted to at least give the main dining room a try, and they accommodated me really well as a solo. Try to give me some good seating, and usually they could, even though I would just walk up, they could get me seated right away.
Did you typically sit by yourself in there, or did you join a table?
Honestly, they never asked me if I wanted to sit with anybody else, but they just sat me by myself, and that was fine. I would usually, if there was someone next to me, I would chat them up a little bit, but most times I was kind of in and out of there pretty quickly, so it didn't bother me that I would be at a solo table.
And what specialty restaurants did you do, and what did you think of them?
So I did four of them, and the reason being, I had I think it was Valentine's Day, they had a special running where they were discounting an unlimited lunch and dinner package, unlimited lunch and dinner at specialty. I'm going to say though that it is somewhat limited, which was a little bit of a disappointment for me. So I could not find this information when I went to book it, but it said unlimited lunches and dinners, and I knew from experience, well, they're not always open for lunches. When are these restaurants going to be open? And what I could find online pretty much said that a lot of times they're only open for lunch for sea days, and there was no sea days on this cruise. So I was like, okay, well, but then I also found that the sushi place was open for lunch every day. So I thought, okay, well, if nothing else, I can grab some sushi lunch as well. First day, the porch was open, and that's up on the by the lawn. So I did go there for a lunch, and it was good. It's seafood, small fare, but I had the lobster roll, and I think I had a bisque, and yeah, everything was really good. The only thing up there was I think I had scheduled for a 12 o'clock, and I don't think they actually opened till 12:30. So I felt like I was standing there for a long time and kind of being ignored. I think the staff were just trying to get ready for service, and just figured we would just wait. And I know there was another couple waiting, and they eventually just walked away. But once I got seated, it was very nice. I enjoyed it.
Where is the porch located? Is that up on the lawn club area?
It is. It's off to the one side. I'd say it's opposite of where the what is the other one called? The lawn club grill. That's what that one's called. So it's sort of opposite of that. It's just real small. You could almost miss it because it's really kind of small. But it was great. It was a nice little lunch up there.
And where else did you eat?
I went to on my first night. I went to Murano. That's their French restaurant. And I'm going to say, Doug, this may have been the best meal I've ever had on a cruise. It really was top notch. I enjoyed every part of it. I had a really great ceviche. They made some lobster right there at the table side, which was in an excellent cream sauce. Yeah, everything about that meal was just really top notch. I would go back to that one many times over if I could, because it was excellent.
Did you do Tuscan Grill?
I did do Tuscan Grill on the final night. Also very good. It was they put me on that window seat, which was great to look off after the ship. The food I had a nice steak. It was very good. The service, though, I felt was a little bit slow. And I got to a point where I was like, you know what, I'm full. I don't know much longer they're going to make me wait for this dessert. And I was like, I kind of ducked out at that point. But nothing against the food. The food was great. I don't know why they seemed like to be running a little bit slow that night on the Tuscan Grill. But being a solo with extra time, what do you do? If there's not someone next to you that you can talk to, and there didn't happen to be anybody next to me in that case, I was like, I feel like I'm just staring out the window. I could maybe go do something else right now.
What did you have in there at Tuscan Grill?
I had a steak, and it was very good. They cooked it perfectly. Very vast menu. It was quite a bit to pick from. I know they had flatbreads. I know they had antipasta. Really a lot to pick from. So definitely did not have a shortage of choices. And maybe that's why I didn't eat that dessert, because I think I did try quite a few things before it was even dessert time. I'm like, you know what? I've had enough.
Right. What about grabbing and goes around the ship, or anything, maybe like a grill around the pool deck?
There's quite a few of those, but actually I realized I forgot to tell you about cuisine. I did also do that the one night I went to see the La Petite Chef, and maybe this is not a thing for solo cruisers, because what I was surprised by, number one, was the number of kids. Because on this ship, you wouldn't think there were any kids. It's definitely trends a little bit older, and there's not a lot of those. There's no water slides or things like that for kids on this ship. The tables around me were all people with toddlers. It made sense because it's going to be very entertaining for them to see the live action video happening on top of your food and on top of your table. But it meant everybody around me was kind of trying to entertain a 2-year-old. So there wasn't a lot of people for me to talk to. And everybody eats at the same pace because we're all watching the same show at the same speed. So I was like, okay, this is, I spent probably an hour 45 in there, and man, I could have ducked out of this in a lot less time if I was eating at my pace and not waiting for the show to finish. But it was enjoyable. It's one of those things you say, hey, you want to try it once. The food was great. The show was entertaining. Maybe it's not perfect for solo travelers. As far as other options around the ship, yeah, there were quite a few. There was the Spa Cafe, which is open usually for like light fare, midday breakfast and midday. It had some nice little salad type things, some lighter fare. That's off the solarium. I had a really excellent item. It was a bagel with peanut butter and banana slices and blueberries and some shredded green apple on top of it.
Nice.
I bit into that. I'm like, whoa, this is next level. I'm doing this one at home. There is the Cafe El Baccio, which is down in Deck 5. It's like a little coffee shop, but they also have little bites to eat, little pastries and finger foods that you can grab during the day. And there's Mass Grill, which is up above the pool deck, where you can get your burgers and hot dogs and fries. And they also have the ice cream machine up there for self-serve ice cream cones. I will say, I don't know how they do it, but they have some really excellent fries. They're like the size of steak fries, but they sort of have a curve to them, so they're a little more crispy. It's like, man, I could eat a lot of these fries. They're really, really excellent. But yeah, so there's definitely some options for food beyond just going to the buffet and the main dining and specialty.
What is cuisine like when it's not doing La Petite Chef?
I don't know if it does anything without La Petite Chef. I don't think they have anything other than that. But I guess La Petite Chef is a trademarked thing that they theoretically could not have, and they would still be cuisine, I suppose.
Yeah, because when I sailed that ship, obviously that was long before La Petite Chef came in, which I believe was like 2018 or 19. That was a place where it was like whimsical food, where like spring roll sushi, where sushi was served on spring rolls. Just kind of a fun take on food. You'd order from an iPad, which was cutting edge technology back in 2012, I guess. Things like that. So I didn't know if that was still going on or if it was just strictly for La Petite Chef these days.
It seems like it's just for the La Petite Chef. But
Gotcha.
You did mention sushi, and I forgot to mention my limited, unlimited package. And so I thought I was going to be able to do sushi on those days that we were not technically sea days. And it turns out, nope, you can only have lunch on what they deem to be sea days, which essentially meant I could not do lunch on any other days other than that embarkation day. Oh, so I was like, well, I feel like that fine print should have been a little bit more forward when I was trying to book this thing. I definitely looked. I was like, there's got to be a loophole to this. But at the price I paid, honestly, it paid for those three dinners I had, and I got that extra lunch in there. So it's not like I lost money on the deal, but it would have been, nice to know at the front that you're not going to get any lunches out of this, really.
Entertainment. What did you think about it for the 3 nights?
I really enjoyed it. I try to do as much as I can. I try to fill my schedule, probably with more things than you really can do. So I go through the app and and give myself usually 2 or 3 options at any given time. But I enjoy live music, and I thought the selection and frequency of live music on this boat were excellent. There was a solo guitarist who was more like a Paul Simon style, who was playing, usually a couple times a day. They had a nice duo, female singer and a guitar player who did some modern hits. They had the full band that did like classic rock and classic and modern pop. They had the steel drums. They had the DJ. They had the quartet. So you could find music pretty much any time of the day you wanted on that ship, which I do enjoy. They had theater shows. I went to 2 of those. One was called Feel the Funk, and the other one was called Broken Strings. They were like that music box style show with dancers and singers, some small bit of acro performances. But yeah, it was very good. The singing, the singers, the songs they sung were very well suited for their singing style. There was no like meaningful storyline to these shows, but I think they kept it entertaining. And I gotta say, something about the choreography of the dancers really intrigued me. Something stood out. And this was a weird reference, but the one show they were doing a dance routine, and I thought, this reminds me of the opening of the show with John Cena, Peacemaker. Like, it has a very very odd opening sequence with a dancer. Like, they are purposely making this very interesting dance moves. I'm not a dance expert, but I've seen enough of these shows to go, they're doing something different here, and I actually really like it. So I enjoyed those shows. I know there was an illusionist. I know there was a comedian. I didn't make it to those shows, but I certainly know that they had them available. Trivia. I did lots of trivia. I try to hit those up. I actually really enjoy that they had the trivia typically on screen. 'Cause sometimes there's a bit of a language barrier when with different international staff where you're trying to understand what they're asking, and and it's up on screen like, oh, I can just read it for myself, and so I enjoyed that. There was one music trivia in particular that was excellent because not only did you have to name the song, but they also wanted you to name the artist and then also the date it was released. And man, I could usually get about 90% of the time I can get the song and the artist, but what year was it released? Wow, that's really hard. So they made it fun and interesting. I enjoyed that. I saw a movie when I was on board, which was, and I see a lot of movies in my normal life. So I was surprised to see a movie I'd never seen before. It was a fairly recent one called One Life with Anthony Hopkins. It was really enjoyable. I did pool aerobics. I went to the silent disco, which was great. I saw games and challenges happening every day. There was something going on, usually in the up on the pool deck, up down in the atrium area. I saw a big inflatable cornhole game they were playing. I saw some game show style shows happening. So definitely a lot going on. There's plenty of shopping and artwork available. I did go to a solo meet and greet that they had on the first night. I got to say it was a little bit of a letdown though, because there wasn't that many people that showed up to it. And the staff were just like, okay, you guys are here to talk to each other. We'll see you later. And then we started talking to each other. And then a few minutes later, there's staff in there, be like, hey, we need you guys to move because we have to set up for the next thing. It's like, okay, well, this wasn't such a great meet and greet, but thank you. But yeah, I found like there was definitely things to do throughout the day. And I tried to enjoy as much of it as I could.
You did more on a 3-night cruise than I've done in my past 10 cruises.
Well, I said I was trying to experience it. I wanted to see what Celebrity had to offer.
No, that's amazing. I love it. So the Celebrity Casino is non-smoking, so we're going to skip that and go right to sea days. How were the sea days as far as crowds and congestion?
Well, technically there were none because we didn't have any actual sea days. But
oh, that's right. Hold on. Let me retake that because I'll sound like an idiot.
No worries.
That's right, because of the whole dining thing. Okay. I'm just so 1,500 interviews doing this over the past 17 years. It's just fine. Robotic to me. All right, so celebrities casinos are non-smoking, so we'll skip that. And we'll have to skip sea days, too, because you didn't have any on this one, as you mentioned with the whole dining situation there. So we'll talk about your ports of call. You leave Port Everglades. What was your first port, and what did you do there?
The first port was Key West. And it's a port I've never been to, so I was kind of interested to see it, but do it quickly. There wasn't a ton I wanted to do, but I did get off and I took a run, and I ran past sort of some of the things people tend to want to see. So I saw what's the house that has the cats in it?
The Hemingway house. Thank
you. I ran past that. I went to the southernmost point, ran past that, got my selfie. Just tried to see it while I was out for a run and enjoy, some of the architecture and some of the sites that are there. But I didn't stop to have a drink or eat anything. I know there's some great key lime pie and some lobster rolls you can get, but I already paid for all the food on the boat, so I was like, I'm not going to do that. So and then probably on my way back, I realized when I was nice and sweaty, I'm like, I probably should buy a souvenir though. So I did find myself walking around one of the souvenir shops that was close to the port. And went back on board and back to the fun on board.
There you go. All right. And then you went to Nassau, Bahamas the next day. How was your day there?
Turns out I had been in Nassau 3 months earlier. So when we got there, I was like, I don't actually think I want to get off. And I did notice that there was a Margaritaville at sea in port. There was a Princess ship in port. There was a Carnival ship in port, and there was a Royal Caribbean ship in port. And here we come in port. I'm like, you know what? I don't think there's anything I really need to get off this boat for. So I ended up staying on board. So when you said I skipped the sea days, but I turned that into a sea day for me. I enjoyed on board. I went to the pool. I checked out the solarium. Spent some time in the hot tub. I ran the stairs. I found their gym didn't have a Stairmaster. I did go to the gym the day before, but they didn't have a Stairmaster, low ceilings. But I wanted to do some stairs, so I actually ran the stairwells of the ship. Honestly, it was nice because people got off board, so I was able to really enjoy some of those areas that do get full, typically like the pool deck, and just had a good time while the ship was a little bit less full.
Yeah, I was going to ask, because it was Nassau, did you find a lot of people did what you did?
I'd say it was probably 50-50. I definitely could see people coming back, and even in the morning, seeing a lot of people with their gear getting off or heading down to get off. So there's things to do. I will say that I probably got 2 to 3 emails a week leading up to the cruise trying to get me to buy a day pass over at the what do they call it? The Royal Beach Club, their private beach club there. I would venture to guess a lot of people did take advantage of that. It's right there. I mean, it's really, if you want beach, this was probably a good chance to get it.
Yeah.
But I was like I said, I was just there 3 months ago. I didn't need to go to the beach, so I enjoyed the pool.
Not sure if you noticed this, but at the new port area, at the end there is a pool. And if you buy food and drinks there, you can use the pool for as long as you want. You just, food and drink is required. But yeah, bring your towel and enjoy their pool right there at the pier. I
did not know. I saw the pool. And we walked past it as we were going to the free beach. The free beach, and I'm like, wonder what that is. When did I get into that? So that's good to know for my next time. I might check that out, because that did seem really, really convenient.
You make your way back to Everglades. How was debark?
It was fine. I should have noted that one of the things I like, and I know a lot of people, have gotten used to the apps, but they still do the print daily planners in the rooms, and it really worked out for me, because on day 2 I happened to be flipping through it and I saw a call out for airport transfers, and I'm like, well, that's great, because I hadn't really thought about. I thought I would just grab a Lyft or an Uber and get myself over, because it's not a long ride, but in the thing they're advertising that they had transfers for $18.95 per person. I'm like, well, perfect. That's what it was going to cost me anyway. And I went down and booked it. So I now had a debark time to get and the tags for that. So yeah, enjoyed my breakfast, went back to the room, grabbed my suitcase, went down to the holding area, waited for them to call my group, because I knew I was waiting for the bus anyway. Easy breezy off the ship. No problem at all. Probably the only real hiccup, if you want to call it that, is like any debark, the elevator bays are just a hot mess. So I can carry my one bag. I'm not gonna say I'm young, but I'm young enough that I can handle walking my bag down a few flights of stairs, and let the people who really need the elevators use the elevators. But yeah, other than that, walk off, facial recognition, so breeze right through. I was a little confused when I walked out. Where is this bus that I'm supposed to be getting on? And there wasn't really any clear signage to it, but I found someone to point me in the right direction. And that was it. It was on the bus and back over to the airport.
You mentioned you've sailed with other cruise lines in the past, and this was your first time sailing from Port Everglades. I'm just curious, what other cruise lines you've been on?
I've been on MSC, Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Princess, Norwegian. I think that's it.
And how does Celebrity compare to those?
You must hear this question all the time, Doug. And I feel like this is the first question people ask me. Oh, well, what did you think? Which is the best, right? Which one? And not to be a fence sitter, but it really just depends on what you're looking for out of a cruise. And I embrace, what it is. And so, as I said earlier, this ship doesn't have any water slides. It doesn't have any merry-go-rounds. It doesn't have an ice skating rink. It doesn't have a roller coaster. And if I'm on a ship that has those things, you bet I'm the first in line going down the water slides. But that's fine. That's not what this ship is. This is a little bit more laid back, a little bit more reserved. But the people were super nice. I felt like everybody I talked to were very loyal to the brand. I mean, they're multi-time cruisers on Celebrity, and loved it. And there are those little perks and things that I understand. I understand why people would like it, and I did enjoy it. I would cruise them again, especially at this price point. I got a really good price on it. But yeah, I think you just have to know what you're getting into, what type of cruise this is going to be, and be okay with that.
So you mentioned that at that price point, so the value was there for the price you paid.
Yeah, definitely. It was sort of last minute buy, so it was heavily discounted. And the drink package was included. I didn't mention this earlier, but if I had a complaint other than that little misleading about the free lunches and dinners, it was the drink package that came with it. It was the basic drink package, which covered drinks up to $12. And I don't drink a lot. I might drink a dozen times in a year when I'm not on a cruise. So it's not like I have my favorite drinks or anything like that. I like to go to a bar, open up the menu and say, "Oh, that looks interesting. Let me try that. Ooh, let me try this." Everything on this ship, though, you open up the menu and nothing is $12. Everything is an upcharge above that. You can get drinks. I mean, I'm fine. Give me a Malibu and a Diet Coke, and I'll be fine. And I'll admit I don't drink beer, so maybe this is not a problem if you're a beer drinker. But if you want mixed drinks, you're going to pay an upcharge if you're trying to buy something that's out of the menu. If you want to go to the martini bar, nothing at that martini bar is less than $19. So I was like, I feel like I bought a drink package so I could have drinks, and now I'm feeling like you're advertising everything everywhere I look that has an interesting drink I want to try. I got to pay an upcharge for it, so that I didn't love. But then again, if you're a loyal member, returning cruiser with Celebrity, I know they have like drink hour, happy hours where drinks are free for their patrons. So yeah, there's like little trade offs like that. But again, small thing. I certainly had a good time. I could deal, like I said, with my own little mixed drinks and upcharges here and there where I felt like I had to try out a Bananas Foster martini, something like that.
I only drink Tito's and soda. Boring, I know. But if I wanted to get that, I could under the drink package then?
I think so. I mean, as long as Tito's was, under $12, I suppose. But like a Malibu was included. That one I found out. I'm like, all right, cool. I like Malibu. Put some Diet Coke in it, and I'm going to be fine. But yeah, if I ask for a blue Hawaiian, it might be an extra $2, Right, So again, I'm not much of a drinker. I just like to try different combinations. Sure. And it's like, this on the menu sounds cool. Can you make this for $12? No, I cannot. It's like, okay, well, I guess give me a rum and Coke and I'll be okay.
Fair enough. We usually ask right here first-time tips for the itinerary or the ship, but I'm curious if you have any first-time tips for a solo traveler.
I would say maybe like this, take a short cruise, right? So even if you hate it, it's only a couple of days and you could survive it. Maybe not your first cruise. Like you should probably have cruised before and understand like what you enjoy in a cruise and whether or not you can enjoy those things if you're by yourself. Talk to people. I've never really encountered somebody who's not willing to have a conversation. Sit at the bar, talk to the person next to you at dinner, at the shows, in the common areas, in the hot tubs. People are almost always happy to talk to you about where you're from. What made you take this cruise? Have you cruised before? It's so easy to have conversations on cruise ships. So I would definitely tell you, don't be shy. Take the earbuds out. I made it a point. No earbuds. We're talking to people. We're here to have a good time and be social. We're going to talk to people.
You know what? This last cruise I was just on, I made it a point. I'm very bad about, because when I cruise solo, I use my phone as kind of a security blanket sometimes, probably more than sometimes. But I made it a point on this last cruise to just be in the moment. Put the phone in my back pocket as I'm transiting from my stateroom to the dining room or the bar or wherever I was going, and I actually talked to some people, and it was like one family I talked with just kind of chatted, and they were from Idaho, and they were from the same place that I camped for 2 weeks in 2021, from that same area in Idaho. It was just so random, and if I had my phone out and not being in the moment, that I would have never had that conversation.
Exactly right. I mean, you're on a cruise. To each their own, right? If all you want to do is lay in the sun and check out, you could do that too, right? There's actually an entire deck on this ship we didn't talk about, but it's a solstice deck that's up on the upper level that is quiet. I don't think you even get a waiter up there. It's just loungers. You could sit up there and no one will bother you at all. It was like a ghost town. But it's really what you're looking for. What kind of cruise do you want to have? And again, if it's a first time solo, I hope you've cruised before and know what you enjoy about cruising, and then you can make that decision. Can I do that? Can I enjoy this if it's just me?
I am curious because one of the most popular spots on these celebrity ships on pretty much this class and the Edge class is the Sunset Bar and Grill. What did you think of that?
The Sunset was nice. I kind of went back there a couple times. The bar is kind of small though, but there is really neat spots to sit. And depending on how the sun's hitting, it could be quite comfortable or quite hot. I actually really enjoyed this Sky Lounge, I think it was called, which was off the one end of the pool deck, and it was a very big open space, nice glass windows along the side, nice big bar in there. They'd often have entertainment in there. That seemed like if you don't want to be in the sun, that was a great place to be. But yeah, that Sunset bar was nice too, and good atmosphere back there. Maybe something about that grass. You were close to that grass. It just feels a little bit different.
Yeah, for sure. Looking back, what was the biggest highlight of this cruise for you?
I would say a couple of things I really enjoyed about it. Number one, I gotta get a shout out a little bit about their app. And I don't know if this is typical for them or not. And there's pros and cons of any of these cruise lines apps, but I think it was 7 days before the cruise, the entertainment schedule was on there. I could start looking ahead and know what things I wanted to try out, what things were being available for this 3-day cruise. So I was already planning before I even got to Florida, and I really appreciated that. What I didn't appreciate was every time I tried to use the back button on my Android phone, it would close the app. So I was like, I got to figure out the navigation of this thing. But other than that, the app I found really excellent. And I would say this for anybody trying out Celebrity, I think you should embrace the dressing up. They have, that they have a little bit of a higher standard for the dining rooms, and I was all for it. I enjoyed, bringing a couple of different dress shirts and pants, and I probably brought too much, honestly, for a 3-day cruise, but I wanted to have options, and I enjoyed that. Enjoyed just feeling a little bit sharper, and just enjoyed the calm of it. It just seemed like a very laid back, calm ship. I enjoyed trying something new and trying to see, what Celebrity had to offer.
We've been talking with Tom about his 3-night cruise on Celebrity Reflection. Tom, it was great talking to you, my friend. And as always, thank you so much for sharing your vacation with us.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Doug, and really enjoy what you do.
Just back from a cruise? Let's talk about it. Email Doug at cruiseradio.net.
A big question we get at Cruise Radio is, how do I know if I need trip insurance? Simple answer. If you're getting on a plane, taking a road trip, or getting on a cruise ship, you need to have travel insurance. Hey, it's Doug Parker from my friends at tripinsurance.com. Not only does tripinsurance.com protect your vacation investment, but it also gives you peace of mind in case anything were to go wrong on your trip. How do they do it? They offer 3 different types of trip insurance policies. Good, better, and best. One policy for every vacation budget. But it doesn't just stop there. They're up to 40% lower when you shop around on other comparison sites. Plus, tripinsurance.com offers 24-hour customer support before, during, and after your trip, online claims assistance, and travel alerts to let you know what's going on at your destination. But find out for yourself. Check out tripinsurance.com.
Have a tip or a lead on a news story? Let us know. Email tips at cruiseradio.net.
We always enjoy fielding your listener questions. You can send them in. Comments at cruiseradio.net. On deck today is Dan Skilken, president of tripinsurance.com, to answer.
Hi, Doug. Thanks for having me on.
Jumping to the first one comes to the abrupt shutdown of Spirit Airlines shutting their doors early that Saturday morning and leaving a lot of cruisers either stranded trying to get home or trying to get to their ship. If someone had a travel insurance policy.
Well, if they were already on their trip and we're going to have trouble getting home, any travel supplier, like an airline, is covered under every travel insurance plan that I know. So everyone that would have been in that situation and had travel insurance, they would have gone ahead and purchased replacement flights to get home, and then would have been covered. And you're typically covered if you're buying replacement flights. You're typically covered in the same class of service that you were in originally scheduled to fly in. Now, if you already had a travel insurance plan and had covered your Spirit Airlines airfare in your trip cost, and Spirit went out of business, you were also covered for bankruptcy of a travel supplier, and the travel insurance would have covered you on the loss. But it's unclear how many of those passengers, when they shut down, are actually going to get their money back. Anything that the airline doesn't reimburse you for is eligible to make a claim for it. So getting home wouldn't have been a problem. If you were trying to fly out and you were at the airport and then discovered that Spirit had just gone out of business, you would have also been covered for the extra cost to buy an airline ticket to get to the boats. You would have been covered as long as you had travel insurance. If you don't, wow, that would have been a problem. So my first piece of advice to everyone is that if you're taking a cruise, do not forget to include your airfare in your trip cost, in your declared trip cost, so that you're covered in the event of something like this happens.
I have to tell you, Dan, flying to San Diego a couple of weeks ago, I was flying from Jacksonville to Dallas and onward to San Diego. The flight crew timed out at DFW. The airline put us up at a Super 8, but then I realized I have travel insurance. So like, as you always say, you don't have to take the airline's accommodations. So I booked there in Terminal D at DFW, and I spent the night there, boarded the next day. I didn't have to take that Super 8, and I was right there at Dallas. So travel insurance saved my butt once again.
Doug, this is a very good case for why having travel insurance makes a lot of sense. First of all, the insurance companies don't care that the airlines offered you a voucher. You have coverage under the travel delay portion of your policy. You have coverage for that to pay for a hotel. There's typically a limit. It might be $300 a person in the travel insurance plan that will cover the cost of the hotel right there at the airport. And so it makes a whole lot of sense.
Let's talk itinerary changes and third-party excursions here, because we're seeing a lot more itinerary changes because of whether it be weather, port congestion, or just extended dry docks and operational issues here. So if someone booked a shore excursion through a third-party operator, so not the cruise line, and the ship skips the port, what happens here, and where does travel insurance fit into that situation?
Doug, if you've prepaid for shore excursions and you included those in your declared trip cost for your travel insurance plan, then if there is a change of itinerary and which is considered like a travel delay, the travel insurance will cover the loss on those shore excursions, which is nice because then you've got an opportunity if there's a new port or something like that you could book something new through the cruise company and you'll be covered for your loss. But just make sure that you include those in your trip cost, because if they're not in your trip cost and then you try to file a claim for them, they won't cover it.
This next one here, I hate to even bring up because of the PTSD a lot of us have from COVID and the cruise industry shutdown, but the hantavirus situation. Last month, it generated a lot of headlines. From a travel insurance perspective, though, what should travelers understand when a health event makes the news, and how should they, evaluate risk is what I'm trying to ask?
You are right. This brings back a lot of memories of COVID, and we learned a lot about travel insurance with regard to COVID and things like that. In the case of an entire cruise ship being quarantined, there's some interesting problems here because travel insurance is not going to get you off that ship. In fact, nothing's going to get you off that ship. If the whole ship is quarantined and it's floating out there, the only thing that travel insurance is going to ultimately cover is the extra cost of your airfare because you missed your flight when they finally do dock and they let you off the boat. But who knows how they handle transportation at that point, because they were still isolating a bunch of passengers. And that is an incredibly rare event. I'm not changing my travel plans because I'm afraid that an unbelievably rare medical event happening on board a ship is going to wreck my vacation. That being said, you and I know you got to be careful about your health on board a cruise ship. There are other problems that you can pick up. The one thing that has become extraordinarily popular, and we should talk about more, and that is cancel for any reason coverage. Because if you are afraid of traveling, and there was a lot of people that were afraid of traveling during COVID, you're not covered to cancel for covered reasons just out of fear of not wanting to travel. The only way you're going to get that coverage is with cancel for any reason.
Yeah, and that brings us actually to our next point here, which is what is the biggest misunderstanding that travel consumers have about those cancel for any reason policies? And when does it actually make sense to pay the extra for that coverage? Because it is a little bit more than your basic policy.
Cancel for any reason covers you for canceling your trip for an uncovered reason that isn't stated in the policy. So if you cancel for a covered reason in your policy, your regular policy is going to pay 100% of your cancellation penalties. But what if you just decide you don't want to go? And that is, in fact, an uncovered reason. In that particular case, if you have a cancel for any reason policy, it'll pay 75% of your cancellation penalties. Those are quite popular right now because of what's going on in the world. You know, wars break out or problems happen. We've seen a lot of people who didn't want to fly through the Middle East. They just change their mind on not wanting to travel, and they can invoke the cancel for any reason policy. The other interesting thing about cancel for any reason policies in the cruise market is that you bought your cruise from the cruise company, but you wanted to book your own tickets because you could save some money or have a little bit more control, or you wanted to take a few extra days before or after the cruise. And so people buy their own airline tickets. If the cruise company cancels a cruise, you're not covered under travel insurance as a covered reason for cancellation because the travel supplier canceled the cruise. And so you're sitting on your airline tickets. Well, a lot of airline tickets may actually be, you may actually be able to get a credit for the airline. In the case of a cancel for any reason policy, you don't have to take the credit. You could say, I'm not planning on using these credits, and the travel insurance company will pay you the 75% under cancel for any reason coverage. The biggest you had asked me what the biggest misunderstanding that consumers have about cancel for any reason coverage is that the coverage itself is in effect prior to trip departure. Cancellation coverage under cancel for any reason stops 48 hours before your departure. You have to cancel the trip at least 48 hours before your departure in order to file a claim under cancel for any reason. And they're going to want proof that you actually canceled and see some kind of receipts back or what the penalties were for your loss on the trip. Then your cancellation coverage part of your plan covers you all the way up until the day of departure for canceling the trip. And then once you depart on your trip, the rest of the provisions of the plan take effect. Now, there is, in our new U.S. Fire Platinum plan, we have added trip interruption for any reason. And that is the complement to cancel for any reason. If you, after 2 days of being on the vacation, decide you just want to come home, and you don't have to have a stated reason. I just changed my mind. The weather could be bad. You don't like what's going on, whatever. You can come home under the trip interruption for any reason, and it covers the loss on the balance of your trip, as well as the extra cost to get you home. So that's a really nice feature, and that was added in. And both of those, the cancel for any reason and the trip interruption for any reason, are included together in that U.S. Fire plan at no extra cost as long as you're buying the plan within 20 days of making your initial trip deposit.
Well, wrapping this up with a big bow tie here and looking at everything that's happened so far this year, like airline disruptions, health events, itinerary changes, what else, like weather-related issues, I guess. What's the biggest single mistake that people are still making when they buy travel insurance?
Doug, I'm going to say there are two mistakes. The first one is not shopping around. A lot of people buy their travel insurance from the cruise company. It is a commercial plan, and it does not provide you the same quality of coverage that you can get from a third party insuring the cruise. You're not required to buy the insurance from the cruise company ever. That's against the law. Nobody can bundle it with a cruise and give you a discount. That's against the law. And your travel agent can't refuse to sell you a cruise unless you buy travel insurance. That's against the law. So let's be honest. You can book the cruise and then shop around for the travel insurance because you're going to get a better deal and you're going to get better coverage. Particularly if you go on a comparison site like tripinsurance.com where you can compare side by side, because the rate tables from different companies target different target markets, different age brackets, older travelers, younger travelers, or lower trip costs or higher trip costs. We've got some policies on our site that are targeted for very expensive trips that give people a very good value on travel insurance. if they just shop around. So that's what I think is the biggest mistake that people make. The second one is waiting to buy. We get a call from somebody that's a week out from their cruise, and they're worried about a hurricane that's already been named, and they want to buy travel insurance. Or my wife just broke her leg, and we want to get travel insurance so we can file a claim, and it's too late. You cannot file a claim for a known risk, like I already have broken my leg, or I already know that there's a hurricane coming. So buy your travel insurance within, generally speaking, it's 14 to 21 days of making your initial deposit, dependent upon the insurance you're buying, because you're going to get a better value. First of all, you're going to get better coverage for hurricane and a pre-existing condition waiver. You're going to be eligible for a cancel for any reason policy if you want it. Just you book the trip, now turn around and go get the travel insurance. And if you buy U.S. Fire on our site, which is very unique, you don't have to insure the total trip cost up front. You can insure your trip deposits. So if you put down $500 on the cruise, declare that for your trip cost for U.S. Fire. This is only for U.S. Fire on tripinsurance.com, and buy the travel insurance within that 14 to 21 day period of time. And then as you make additional trip deposits or you book additional travel arrangements, make sure to call us within a couple of weeks, and we can raise the trip cost in the plan to cover those additional costs, and you just pay the difference in the premium. There's no penalty for doing this. It is a great feature, because otherwise, with a lot of other brands, you're going to be paying out more in travel insurance than you actually have as a deposit on the cruise.
I will say, over the 17 years of doing this, I've received dozens of emails, and I've probably have forwarded you probably all of them. But someone says, I bought the travel insurance policy through Carnival, through Princess. I mean, I'm just naming cruise lines here, but it didn't pay. Why?
Most of the commercial policies are written in a particular way to reduce the risk for the insurance company, obviously. For instance, there is no coverage for bankruptcy of a cruise line in any one of those commercial policies. And the reason is because the insurance company said, wait, if I write that into the policy, if you go bankrupt, I have got to pay out claims for every single one of your travelers. I don't want to do that.
Dan, if anyone has a travel insurance question or wants to reach out, how can they get a hold of you?
Doug, if you send us an email at support@tripinsurance.com, we're here to answer your questions. It doesn't matter whether you bought your travel insurance from us or not. We're always here to help and would be thrilled to hear from you.
All right. Dan Skilken, president of tripinsurance.com. Dan, always a pleasure speaking with you, my friend. And thanks for tackling these questions for us today.
Doug, thank you for having me on, and everybody enjoy your cruises this summer.
All right, Dougie, let's see what we got for you, buddy. Cruise Radio is produced at the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. Get cruise news, ship reviews, and money-saving tips every Thursday on Cruise Radio. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show. If you want to help spread the word, give Cruise Radio a 5-star review. Find Cruise Radio where you listen to your favorite podcast or online at cruiseradio.net. I'm your announcer,